Hi, welcome to Bandwagon's recent record reviews. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Hit0.
And today we actually have a special guest in the form of Karen, our senior writer.
Hi.
It's a special guest for a special episode because we will not be doing any reviews today, but instead we will actually be revealing our top albums of the year. This year has actually been an exemplary year for music in Singapore. There has been a record amount of output from artists all over Singapore, and it has been tremendous so far. Like, we've seen so many great releases, but at the same time we need to keep tabs, and because of that we decided to come up with our own list. And because there have been so many albums and EPs, we've actually decided to come up with separate lists for the EPs and LPs. So we'll be doing the albums next week, but for now we'll be doing the EPs. For number 10, we will actually be going with JAWN's self-titled EP. Karen?
Yeah, so this is singer-songwriter John Chan's debut EP, and it's one of the more vulnerable and fragile releases we have on this list. His influences are quite identifiable. You've got singer-songwriters like Damien Rice and John Mayer, folk rock bands like Of Monsters and Men and Mumford & Sons, and although they are very identifiable, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because I think it is a really well done EP. It's very delicate and it's very appealing, even if you're not quite so... if you don't quite like his influences. I think John's EP is still, because it's so emotional, it's so open, it's definitely very appealing.
So there's still like element of him like being genuine.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah, he's very, very, very open in his lyrics, which is something I definitely appreciated about this EP.
Okay, and for number 9, we will actually be going with Mediocre Haircut Crew's self-titled debut EP.
Yes, Mediocre Haircut Crew just released the MHC EP barely a month ago, and it's one that really strikes out in the year. Although Mediocre Haircut Crew are they are a trio, and they've been super prolific this year. They've had releases on Hybrid Theory, they've had a ton of releases on SoundCloud,
live performances all
over. They opened for Odyssey, so it's been quite a breakout year for MHC. So it's about time that they release their first official document. And this EP is really, really strong. While most young rappers out there tend to go the trap route or throwback to the 90s, there's a refreshing 80s vibe about their flow and style. Their Pass the Mic vibe is reminiscent of Naughty by Nature and a bit of the Beastie Boys abrasiveness. The production also adds a modern element to their sound, which is super refreshing. There's no other trio that sounds quite like them in Singapore, which is why I like it. Major props has to go to FAUXE for this one, because the issue with a lot of local rappers, although there are a lot of good local rappers, the issue is they can't find a producer that fits them, and FAUXE knows them through and through. He knows them intimately, and he adds a really nice dynamic to their sound, which is why the MHC EP comes in at number 9.
And for number 8, we'll actually be going with Instrua's new EP, Letters to Ubin. Karen?
Yeah, so Dan and Hits talked about Letters to Ubin in recent record reviews number 2, and they noted the strength of the production really made the album stand out for them, and I agree, because I think Inch didn't just go for some rustic, folky, let me pull out my acoustic guitar sound just because it was Ubin and would have been sort of cliche, it would have been a little bit too predictable, a bit too on the nose. But Inch actually sort of went for a more refined, almost crystalline sound on this EP, which was I think it was a big risk for her actually. It sounds very different from what she's done before, and so instead of sort of retreating into these cliches about Ubin, she kind of just made the effort to move her sound forward, which was great. And I think this EP also has a lot of really strong Inch Chua songs. For instance, Mouse Deer and personally Hits and I really like Dust That Moves, which has got an incredible crescendo and some really great lyrics that stay with you, like the line "All that survives is dust that moves" and "All that survives is not me, not you." Yeah, with her delivery, those lines really stay with you, and I think they hit an emotional part, I think. So that is why it's great. It's at number 8.
Coming in at number 7 is Riot and Magenta's second EP, Voices. Hit0.
Yes, this is a really, really strong, I think sophomore EP, I might be wrong, but I think it's the second EP. Ginny Bloop really stands out here. She's one of the most dynamic jazz singers in Singapore, as evidenced by her work with her other band, the Steve McQueens, who also have released this year. This EP is just like her powerful croon gets to shine even more with understated pleasures and moody electronic minimalism. And while some detractors might call it maybe XX revivalism, her voice makes it stand out from that, because unlike Romy XX, whose voice is atmospheric and like haunting and chill, she really gets to like
she cuts through the atmosphere.
There's like oomph to this, you know, and she is a stronger singer than Romy, and that's just like being objectively speaking, Ginny Bloop is one of the strongest singers out there with a dynamic stage presence. But she really chooses her moments here. It's not like she goes all diva. It's the moments of restraint that's actually quite powerful. And kudos to the entire band too, because with an album, with an EP like this, we can easily see why they've been picked for Laneway next month.
And for number 6, we've chosen Inward by Anise. Daniel? Oh, thank you, Daniel. Anyway, for Inward, we decided to choose the EP because it is definitely one of the more standout singer-songwriter EPs that we've heard this year. Definitely one of the surprises because we haven't really seen Anise live much. So for the EP to just drop out of nowhere, and it was a real standout for most of us because the instrumentation is very lush, it's very powerful, and she's definitely one of the strongest lyricists this year, alongside Inch and Charlie, like you said.
Yeah.
For 4 tracks, it's definitely gotten me hooked, and listening it over and over again, I have to say that I've not gotten sick of it so far.
Oh,
yeah. There are many layers to penetrate right here, and definitely she can be very witty, but at the same time she can be very thoughtful.
Yeah.
So I feel that right now she's definitely promising, and for her to actually write an entire album, I definitely can't wait to see what she has. For the 5th EP, we've decided to go with The Astral Journey by Touch. Now Touch is a trio from Singapore. Essentially what they've done here is essentially what they've promised for a long time, which is the jazz, funk, and hip-hop fusion. They definitely played to their strengths on the EP. Instrumentally, faultless. They definitely have that spiritual vibe that they have, in the lyrics that they write. At the same time, I feel that this can be really stretched out, really great, even for an EP. Because after a while, I kind of get where Touch is coming from. But at the same time, what they're doing is really so special in Singapore that we really have to put it on the list, especially for a spot like number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. For number 4, we've decided to go with Cashew Chemists' newest EP, Previously On. Karen, please?
Yeah, so this EP has been a long time coming. It is their second EP after their self-titled, which came out in 2013. And I think definitely the anticipation is one reason why I've liked it so much, but also because Cashew Chemists are one of the few guitar bands in Singapore I find you can really rely on for some good classic rock music, that still sounds fresh but also familiar at the same time. They don't really steer away from the formula they've created on the self-titled, and everything is hooky, great to sing along to, solos that aren't indulgent and they really serve the song, I find. What changes I found are honestly improvements. I think Yuji's voice has really developed a lot more than what it was in 2013 EP. He straight up belts some lines in Take a Walk and First Kiss, and it's just so great, really thrilling stuff.
So it could be the production and the mix too.
Yeah, definitely.
Bennett did a good job on this.
Yeah, for sure. First Kiss in particular is Cashew Chemists kind of going with this sort of bluesy swagger, really throw it all out there, a lot of confidence that isn't off-putting, and I think that is an incredible EP closer. So, number 4.
For number 3, we decided to go with Fuck, Another Beat Tape by FAUXE and Mediocre Haircut Crew. Now, this was probably one of the most surprising releases of the year for sure.
Yep.
This was actually done within 24 hours between Mediocre Haircut Crew and FAUXE. So the fact that they managed to pull it off within 24 hours and pull some of the best work of the year was a double stunner for all of us. For Mediocre Haircut Crew, they played to their strengths very well here, and FAUXE definitely brings the best out of them, which is why this is definitely some of their most immediate work. They sound very, very pumped on the EP, and their energy definitely strikes through to the record for sure. And
they have a lot of chemistry.
Yeah,
so much urgency.
Definitely,
you
and
feel it.
I think one thing we really need to point out is the samples that FAUXE uses, and in fact that's what really makes the EP so great. FAUXE did a great job choosing the songs, and even though the beats were generally quite traditional, very infectious, I think just the idea itself was really very captivating, and I think that's why it should be number 3.
For sure, man.
And for number 2, we have gone with
Suspense.
Fzpz's debut EP.
Soul Explorations.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether it's Fzpz or Fzpz. I've always said Fzpz.
Oh shit, did I say Fzpz?
It's okay. Well, everyone's confused. Please clarify, Jared.
Or is it
please.
Fizzle Pizzle?
I don't know.
Maybe not.
A bit too
Maybe not.
far-fetched lah.
Yeah. It's cool, Jared. We love you. This EP was picked up by Thump on Vice, which is pretty mind-blowing. Fzpz is one of the busiest producers in Singapore right now. If you just check out his SoundCloud, you will be overwhelmed by a ton of solid singles. He's released on Top Cats, he's released on Darker Than Wax. But this particular EP is released on Phyla Digital, which is I think his home for now. This is an off-kilter and very postmodern take on UK bass. The classic garage feels on it, a lot of lush keys, and it all coalesces with an immediate super keen sense of melody that JAWN has, and fused with his signature sound palette, which everybody knows what the Fzpz sound is. But like it never feels repetitive.
Yeah.
The highlight on this album is a track that called Iowa, which I really love. And amazingly, although he's so hyped, this actually exceeded all my expectations, which was insane because I love Fzpz. If you love this EP, you love everything this kid makes. So once you go buy this on Bandcamp, go to his SoundCloud and check out everything because JAWN is the bomb.
Number 1, we have gone with blankverse.
Hell yeah!
Yes,
Woo!
blankverse debut EP gets our number 1 spot for the top EP of the year from Singapore.
Yep.
So Hizir, please tell us why blankverse deserves to be a number 1.
Well, blankverse has been like a long gestating project from producer Isa Fong, who you may know from Fzpz. This showcases like a vast palette of sounds, and one of the most interesting palettes of sounds that any producer here in Singapore has. It is enchanting, colossal, entirely unpredictable, and its arrangements are so unique. It's so unique, and every track is so different. People might point out that it's not cohesive, but you know, who cares when we have 4 tracks this strong? I sense tonal influences from the likes of Ubin, early Ninja Tune stuff, and especially Floating Points. And these are not hyperbolic comparisons. He is legitimately that good. What do you think, Karen?
Yeah, I agree when you say that some people might think it's a little bit scattered and eclectic, but I think what also holds it together is the X's motif. Like it's called XS, and the tracks are X, Y, Z, and T, and it sort of goes in this sort of like mathematical idea of axis. And although that might come off as something that seems like too deliberate, if it's used poorly, it can seem a little corny. I think it's perfect for this because for me, the axis motif really brought out how deliberate and precise all these songs are.
Yeah.
You know, like really sort of mathematical in the way they're arranged, but still they sound like really organic, a real pleasure to listen to. And what I also found really interesting about this album is that sometimes electronic music can beat you over the head, you know, especially when you're talking about drops and like, you know, things like that. But blankverse, like this seems like a very like blank piece of music. Funnily enough, he's called blankverse. And there's so much up for interpretation over here. Like when it comes to the mood, it shifts when you think you've got a handle on it.
Yeah.
You know, the sounds like mutate and change all the time. It's definitely a super intriguing listen. That's why it's number 1 for me.
Yeah.
Another pun there, intriguing.
Oh god, okay.
For blankverse, it's pretty much what they said so far. Blankverse has definitely come out one of the most confident sounding EPs I've ever heard, probably in the past few years. The fact that he was able to pull out all these sounds together and probably make sense for them to be in one entire EP was a definite standout, and I think that was why it should be number 1, because he was able to do this and within 4 tracks, and the fact that he has not done a release so far,
Exactly.
and not a lot of live shows as well. So I think that there definitely has been a lot of experimentation, and it definitely shows from like the synths all the way until like the artificial strings as well. And of course it definitely sounds like a mess if you were to take it from a objectionably pop standpoint, but this is where he really shines because his compositions are very meticulously layered, and they definitely take multiple listens to definitely really penetrate through. So I think this is really the number 1 EP for me this year. So
by far, yeah.
I'm glad you picked up on the artificial strings because like the song Z Karji, it's such a jam.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
definitely.
When those strings kick in,
Yeah,
it's
actually reminds me of
incredible.
Detailers.
Exactly, yeah.
That is our EPs for the year. If you liked it, hate it, or you really thought that we were out of minds, please let us know in the comment section below, and of course please do subscribe, and thank you for watching.
And stay tuned next week for our top 10 LPs of the year.
Yes.
Long players, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Catch you next week.